Así es, y el sábado lo vamos a demostrar por nocaut. He still has it, and Saturday we're going to show it by knockout.
Right? Do you believe you knock him out?
Yeah, why not?
I don't want to see Terrence fight Canelo, but I would love to see him fight anybody in that division, because even up to 154, because I think he's the cream of the crop.
During the last news conference, Eddie Reynoso, Canelo Alvarez's manager, gave Terrence Crawford a very strong warning. He promised that on Saturday night, fans would see the best of Canelo. Reynoso was sure that Canelo would win by knockout, pointing out how strong and skilled he was against Crawford.
I think of him sometimes like Marvin Hagler, who when he fought Duran, he gave him too much respect, and it was close. So when he fought Hearns, he thought, no, I'm gonna go knock him out. What mentality do you want Canelo to have for this fight?
Me recuerda un poco a Marvin Hagler y lo que tuvo que hacer cuando ves a Canelo, cuál es la mentalidad que él tiene con esto. Lo mejor de su carrera, lo mejor de 20 años de preparación y de peleador, eso se va a ver el sábado. This is the best Canelo we're going to see in 20 years of career, and we're going to show it Saturday.
Canelo Alvarez has always been portrayed as a winner who is sure of himself and does well under pressure. One of his most recent statements made it clear that he was excited to fight Terrence Crawford and boldly promised to knock him out. People often say things like this about Canelo, who is known for being loud and brave. One thing that makes him stand out is his ability to knock out opponents. He has wiped out some of the biggest names in fighting history. He sends a psychological message to both Crawford and the crowd by making sure the fight ends in a halt.
Thinks Bomac might throw the towel in to stop the fight.
Oh, could be. In boxing, everything can happen, right?
Do you believe you knock him out?
Yeah, why not?
Canelo, you said last year you have everything to lose and nothing to gain. And because you said if he wins, if you win, he'll say he's too small.
Yeah.
Is that still the same for you now?
No, when you don't have in mind one fight, you think in that way. But when you see how big is this fight, it's a big fight.
Alvarez agreed with Terrence Crawford that he looks good the way he is now. Soon after, he said that it wouldn't matter what they did once they got into the ring. Canelo said that the fight would finally show what kind of winner he is. Besides that, he said that whenever a big fight is mentioned, there are a lot of talks, guesses, and doubts from different places. Fans and analysts all have their own ideas, which means that there will be disagreements about the outcome. But Canelo's position stays the same. He thinks that by showing himself in the ring, he will have the last word, no matter what other people say.
It's good. I feel happy because that you realize it's gonna be a good fight. So we expect a good fight.
There are rumors circulating. A lot of people, conspiracy theories, think that it's photoshopped. What's your opinion?
I don't think so. I don't think so. People always talk, speculate, and everything, but that's good. Around big fights always happen.
You're somebody who has moved up and through the weights himself. What do you think the biggest challenge of it is, and what do you think he maybe is underestimating with it?
No, maybe they know, but if not, I'm gonna remind them September 13. I can do a lot of things in the ring, and I'm gonna put everything there.
It's not something that veteran trainer Abel Sanchez is excited about. He says he doesn't want Canelo Alvarez to fight Terrence Crawford or anyone else in that class. Sanchez thinks the difference in size is too big and could become a big problem. His point of view shows that he thinks Canelo, who has fought in many weight classes, might be pushing himself too far by taking on opponents who are much bigger than him. Sanchez said that these kinds of fights could hurt Canelo's career as a fighter and put him in danger.
I don't want to see Terrence fight Canelo, but I would love to see him fight anybody in that division, because even up to 154, because I think he's the cream of the crop.
Well, why not Canelo? Is that just a little too much?
It'd be like Canelo fighting the Charlo. He just, even though he's got a lot of talent, it's just not enough size.
It was said by former world champion Froch that Crawford looks big and strong right now, which could be a problem for Canelo in the fight. Froch then reminded everyone that Canelo hasn't always been invincible. He has lost before to Floyd Mayweather and more recently to Dimitri Bivol, which shows that Alvarez can lose if he fights the right person. Froch says that Crawford's losses show that his size and strength could put a lot of pressure on Canelo in the ring.
Good counter-punching, fast hands, naturally the lighter man, so it's going to be naturally the quicker man. But I said earlier, he's looking bigger and stronger, so I think he's going to be able to cope with pressure from Canelo at times. But Canelo, I'm talking about, how does he win? And I think use his size, his strength,
and his weight advantage, his natural weight advantage, to sort of bully Crawford around and push him back and put him under pressure, if indeed he can. And I just think that his natural ability, he's got high work rate, Canelo. He throws combination punches, he's great with a jab, he's defensive, he's a masterclass in it. He does everything really, really well, exceptionally well, but he's also tough. He's never been down, never been put over, never really looked like he'd been hurt. I mean, he's had a couple of losses, hasn't he? He's lost to Mayweather, he's lost to Dimitri Bivol, but he never really looked hurt. I think Bivol caught him with a couple of shots that may have buzzed him. Never went anywhere, did he? Never touched down on the canvas. So for Crawford to actually hit him and hurt him, or hit him and put him away, I can't see that happening. Canelo just needs to do what Canelo does, which is busy, excellent boxing masterclass work, but on his front foot and put Terence Bud Crawford under pressure. And that will probably be enough for him to get the job done. Now, for Crawford to win this fight, he's going to have to box and move, use his speed, use the ring craft, the skills that we've seen time and time again. Ricky Burns, I've mentioned, Kell Brook, the big win against Errol Spence. Nobody thought that would be a one-sided whooping, but that's what it was. Terence Crawford outclassed Errol Spence. Errol Spence is a phenomenal fighter. We know how good he is, and look what Bud Crawford managed to do to him. Such a quality fighter, and he's unbeaten as well. So he's coming into this fight, doesn't know how to lose. I know he's older than Canelo Alvarez. Has he got one eye on retirement? Maybe, but he's not going to want to go out on a loss. So Crawford needs to be fast behind the jab, combination punches, busy body and head, fast leg work all the way around the ring, use the ring, use his speed, make Canelo reach like Bivol did.
Veteran commentator Jim Gray said this was one of the biggest fights that doesn't happen very often. Gray is interested in Canelo and Crawford because he thinks they are two of the best fighters of their time. Predicting the outcome of the fight is very difficult because both sides have big benefits. Crawford is a tough opponent because he is flexible, skilled, and has never lost a fight before. Alvarez has the power and experience from previous big fights. People are paying attention to this fight because of what Gray said. There isn't just one winner in this fight. It's between two stars whose strengths could make for a classic.
You're asking me to break down a fight. I mean, obviously the big focus is on the weight and coming up in the division. And, but look, Terence Crawford fights from both sides. And while Canelo has fought guys who, have been southpaws and so forth, they usually don't switch in the middle of the round. So you never know what can happen in these fights. Canelo is a bigger guy, and Canelo, we saw what happened to him when he went up against Bivol. So we know what that looks like. And so, it's a tough assignment to move up in weight, but Terence Crawford has taken on every tough assignment. And he looks in great shape, and, this guy's really something. So it's hard to say, if you start analyzing and breaking this down, there are advantages for both.
Steve Collins, a former world winner, gave an unbiased review of the match. He said it was impossible to pick a clear winner because Canelo still has time in his career to beat Crawford. It's likely that Crawford is the best boxer alive right now, but Collins said that both men have strengths that could help them win. Crawford is smart and flexible, while Alvarez is tough and has a lot of knowledge. Both sides of the boxing world have good reasons to believe in their boxer, which is why the fight is causing such a split in opinion. Collins thinks it's more important to do well on the night of the fight than to guess what will happen.
Picking Canelo, some people firmly picking Crawford. Where's your head at with this?
I'm a fan of Canelo. I love his style. I like how he fights. I like everything about him, his boxing. Crawford is a very good fighter, and some people believe and think that maybe Canelo might not be taking him serious. People think, oh, Canelo's got this attitude, oh, I'm bigger than him, I'm stronger than him. This is what they think Canelo's thinking. And they think, people believe that Canelo goes in underestimating Crawford. He could be in for a shock. I don't believe Canelo is underestimating him because he's too long in the tooth. He's been around the game. He's too wise and too successful to underestimate anybody. But also in saying that, Canelo's been around a long time. He's got a lot of hard fights under his belt, and I wonder, is every fight, next fight is going to be his last fight? Has Canelo still got it in the tank? We don't know. We know on the night Crawford is good enough to beat him. Canelo's good enough to beat Crawford, and in saying that, I'm looking forward to the fight because I really don't know. I can't pick a winner. That's what's great about this fight, because I really cannot pick a winner.
Do you think size will play a factor in this fight?
Well, size can play a factor if you know how to use it to your advantage. Sometimes size can be to a disadvantage. I don't really think the size is going to make that much of a difference, really. But then Canelo is clever enough, he can use his weight to a positive. I don't really know. See, I can't simplify it and say, oh yeah, size will make a difference. That's what's great about this fight. I can't pick a winner.
Michael Bisping, who used to be the UFC champion, also talked about the boxing super fight and emphasized the idea of heritage. He said that Canelo Alvarez was the face of boxing and that Terence Crawford was the clear winner in his class. Bisping says there's more to this fight than just belts and money. It has to do with leaving a memory. Canelo's already famous career would go even further if he beat an unbeaten and well-known opponent like Crawford. Crawford sees his fight with Alvarez as the best chance to show himself against boxing's biggest star. From Bisping's point of view, this fight is less important than it seems. Both guys are trying to make history, not just get another win for their record books.
But after all, and let's remember that Canelo Alvarez is kind of the face of boxing, but he's currently the number 3 pound-for-pound fighter. Canelo is only number 8, and of course number 1 is Alexander Usyk.
I feel.
A man that also, let's remember, moved up weight classes. If Crawford wins here, he becomes the first ever 3-weight undisputed boxing champion, but he's up against big competition in Canelo Alvarez. Alvarez is one of, if not the biggest star in boxing. All of the pressure is on Alvarez being the larger fighter, and also, as I said, being considered the face of boxing. Now, Alvarez himself, he has unified the entire super middleweight division. After moving up from lower weight classes himself, unifying is a very rare achievement, but it also means that this fight is for all of Canelo's belt. Canelo is much more experienced, of course. His resume is stacked, and he's fought some of the best from 154 all the way up to 175. People like Triple G, 3 times, Amir Khan, Floyd Mayweather, Daniel Jacobs, Miguel Cotto, to name but a few. But his home has always been at 168 pounds. Canelo is unbeaten at super middleweight and only losing twice in his whole career, versus Dimitri Bivol at light heavyweight in 2022 and Floyd Mayweather years ago, 2013, at 154 pounds. Funnily enough, 154 pounds is the highest weight that Crawford has competed at. All right, if you're a boxing fan, then you're in for a treat, because we've got a fight that transcends titles. We've got Canelo Alvarez, the undisputed champion, taking on the 3-division king, Terence Crawford. That is correct.
Bruce Carrington talked about the claims that Canelo Alvarez sparred with Jiren Ennis to get ready for his fight with Crawford. Carrington says that sparring is just practice and shouldn't be taken too seriously. He disagreed with the idea that these sessions give a clear edge or forecast for the real match. Carrington's words tell us that practice sessions are not the same as real competitions in terms of the stakes and the level of intensity.
I heard, like, you know what I'm saying? And the thing is, sparring, bro. Like, it happens. Like, I've had my days where a dude might get the best of me, and then the next 4 or 5 times I spar him, I'm lighting him up. Like, it's like no competition at that point. That's how things happen.
But wouldn't you say, and I could be wrong, you're the pro here, but isn't sparring the most essential part of preparing for a fight, though?
It is to a certain extent. It is. I would say, you know, but see, the thing is, like, when you're fighting, it's certain things you will and will not do. But like when you're sparring, you trying certain things. You're more loose. You're not as, like, you know, timid and thinking about throwing certain shots. Like, you're really taking your time. Like, there's certain times I'm sparring and like really like dead on sparring.
Respected expert Max Kellerman says that Canelo Alvarez has already been in a number of big boxing events. However, Terence Crawford has never fought an opponent with as much star power as Alvarez in such a public setting, making this his biggest fight yet. Kellerman also said that this fight is very important for Canelo because it is one of the hardest tests he has ever faced.
One thing about Canelo is he's been in a million big events. And I'm going to ask him about this just between you and me when he gets here. Don't tell him. But has he ever been in a bigger fight than this one? Is this everyone knows this is easily the biggest fight of Terence Crawford's career. But has he ever been in a fight as big as Canelo Alvarez, who's been in a million huge fights? Floyd Mayweather, that was huge, and that was Floyd, but he was young then. He was young, and he wasn't going to be in front of, 50 million people worldwide. Because this ain't a pay-per-view. This is available to everybody. I think Triple G, those were big fights, but not like this.
A boxing reporter named Rafael said the fight was exciting but warned watchers to be careful. He said that neither fighter had looked very good in their most recent public outings. This makes me wonder if they are both still at the top of their game. Rafael thinks that both Canelo and Crawford will be motivated by the fight to come fully prepared and give their best efforts. His opinion shows how unpredictable the game is and explains why fans are so interested. A fight between two greats is only important if both of them are in great shape.
Highly anticipated Canelo versus Crawford. It's approaching very, very soon. What do you think, Dan?
I mean, it's a big event. It's probably the biggest event of the year in boxing. They're both great fighters. They're both Hall of Famers in waiting. As a boxing fan, I'm thrilled because it's a very fascinating matchup with two all-time greats. With the obviously caveat that you got Terence Crawford moving up two weight classes to see what he can do against the undisputed champ. Neither guy looked good in their last fight, but I suspect they're going to be a lot more into this fight. You know who you got in front of you in September, and Crawford saying, I'm fighting the great Canelo Alvarez. Canelo's like, I'm fighting the 4-division champ, pound-for-pound type guy, and Crawford that's never lost. You know, I better be really prepared. So I'm hopeful that aspect that they're really tuned in will make it a bigger and better fight.
Jarrett Hurr, a former champion, talked about his own fight with Terence Crawford. He admitted that he couldn't back Crawford up during their workouts, which shows how strong, tough, and smart Crawford is in the ring. Hurd saw this as telling Canelo Alvarez that Crawford might be harder to get to give in on than people think. This kind of evidence from a fellow professional supports the idea that Crawford is strong enough to handle hard hits. It also makes people wonder if Canelo's strength will be enough to beat an opponent who has shown he can stick with world-class boxers in training.
We're going to try and cut through all the intangibles, all the noise, and figure out exactly who is going to win this fight. There's a couple of things I've noticed before the fight mentally that might give us an indication as to where these two guys are at. The major talking point of physicality and size is something that we're absolutely going to have to cover, and I'm definitely going to try and come down one way or the other on this before we see the two men in the ring. Can Crawford take those punches? Will he hit hard enough to hurt Canelo? How has preparation gone for the two men? And finally, tactically, do I think that Crawford can execute a game plan that would allow him to beat Canelo Alvarez and become the first ever three-weight undisputed world champion? I'm probably going to change my mind a couple of times along the way in this one, guys, because it really is that hard to pick. So watch me as I go through the process of figuring out who wins this damn fight. Hello everyone, and welcome back to A Guy Called Henry. I'm absolutely buzzing for this fight. I know that the promotion and the hype for this one has been a bit weird. I don't know why. I really thought that Netflix were going to go all out on this because obviously the whole reason they put these fights on is to try and get more subscribers on their platform. And look, maybe it does giant numbers and I've just missed something here, but it does feel a little weird, this build-up. Even the weird face-off where they're standing on that float in the water, there's just something not quite there and not quite right with it. But it doesn't matter to me because I love boxing and I can put all that aside and go, I've thought about this endlessly, I've analyzed and assessed everything, and I just have the hardest time picking a winner here because I can see ways that both men can win. I can see what's more likely. I can see which way my mind is going, and it's a real battle for me here because sometimes I just have a feeling about things, but I hate feelings when it comes to boxing. It doesn't matter how you feel, facts are your friends. I'm gonna try and give you as many facts, or at least try and read between the lines as much as I can in this video.
Analysts who have been to Crawford's camp have seen that his team is working very hard to improve both their skills and their strategy. There were rumors that he might have hurt his shoulder, but they were quickly shot down as false. The most current information says that Crawford's training has not been affected, and he should be completely healthy when the fight starts. Supporters can be sure that both fighters will be at their best for the fight, with no excuses based on physical limits. In order for this match to be historically important, both competitors must be healthy and only concerned with doing their best.
Canelo can land one shot to the body and he can take out Crawford. That's the reality of this fight. But look, the point of what I'm making here is if that shoulder injury is real, we're not going to know about it because Team Crawford's adamantly denied it. And let's just suppose that he is there for a payday. You're not going to know about any injury because they want people to buy the fight. They want people to watch it. And also, they're not going to want their opponent to know that there's any weakness coming into it to give them the best chance possible. And, you know, we know Canelo likes to hit the arms where he can to tire you out and weaken you. So if that shoulder injury is legit, then there's massive problems, but let's assume that it's not going to be an issue in this prediction. There's also been the chat about Canelo sparring Jerome Boots Ennis, which is probably pretty good preparation, being he's a switch hitter, he's smaller and faster, you know, similar to Terence Crawford in some ways, although I also think quite different. But are you going to get much better sparring than that? Probably not. People saying that it might have been too much for Canelo, it might have affected his confidence, taken too much out of him. I saw Teddy Atlas saying that you don't want to break your guy in the gym and all this, and I just think we have no idea what kind of sparring they were doing. You know, Jerome Ennis could have gone in there and done purely tech sparring.
That's all for the video today. Watch out. Until the next time.